he found her cheating with him. He killed him, and nobody ever came after him for punishment or anything. And he said that broke his heart even more, that he could do something so vile and have no consequences.
Yeah, the monologue is great. Where it's just, I did this horrible thing, nobody seemed to care about it, and that was kind of worse than the thing that I did, was the fact that nobody cared.
And it goes back to him being an older, Eric being an older guy. He knows what life used to be on the other side before this collapse. So it's showing you the kind of the love loss and everything.
And kind of by his timeline that he establishes in the monologue, it seems like the collapse happened about the time that he killed, the wife and her lover. Probably just prior to everything, or as it was happening, because he says about a decade ago, and this is, as established in the beginning, 10 years after the economic collapse.
Which would make sense as to why he was able to get away.
Yeah, there's bigger problems out in the world.
Lawlessness.
Yeah. But yeah, that monologue is great, and you can tell that's who's he was referring to when he was talking to Ray about, you need to think about the people you kill, all the time. So that's one of the things that's haunting him, is the fact that he killed his wife and her lover, says he buried them, and then just left them. But that's obviously something that really has weighed on him. The fact that, like you said, no one cared, or no one went after him for it. Something, like you said, something that he did that was just so despicable that it didn't register.
And then the soldier, you can tell that he's kind of shocked by what he's hearing, and then kind of immediately dismisses it. Like, you can sit here and lie and spew out fake confessions, he says.
That doesn't sound like a fake confession. Who would lie about doing that unless you had done?
Yeah.
Don't make your situation worse.
But I feel like that's why he does it, is because he thinks that he's been caught.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. There's no reason to lie and try to talk his way out of it. It's just like, yeah, I did this awful thing 10 years ago, and have to pay for it.
And shortly after, you hear some gunfire off in the distance, which turns out to be Ray, who kind of sloppily, runs into the to the room where Eric is at with the soldier. The soldier gets up and tries to grab like a rifle and doesn't have enough time, and is gunned down by Ray. And then you can see Eric's just expression. He's shocked because Ray went out of his way when he had
no reason to come and save him.
But does it anyway, and
then after he does it, Ray says, "Oh, that was easier than I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was going to be way harder." And then he looks at Eric, and he's like, "You tied up," and he unties him, and Eric is just stunned by, this friendly gesture, I guess. And
I think at this point, Ray sees, no matter what Eric's end game is, he kind of sees, we're in this together. No matter who you are to me or I am to you, like, we're in this deal together now. So that's why he came for him. Because I don't think he still hasn't really thought about what's going on, or either that or his conversation with Eric, where Eric, really points out that his brother left him for dead, has made him turn against his brother.
Because I feel like after that, in the next, when they're by the fireside again, Ray comes up with this plan where he's like, "I thought about this. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill my brother." Yeah. So it's obvious that
it dawned on him that Eric's
words from earlier before about him, his brother and his brother's friends left him for dead. And he thinks that's fucked up, so he's just like, you're gonna go get your car, and I'm gonna kill my brother for betraying me, essentially, right? And that's when they use like that super weird pop song, "Pretty Girl Rock," I think.
So when we were watching the movie in the theater, you hear the dedication, which I believe is in Vietnamese, and I thought like the soundtrack for the film got fucked up. I thought like some other movie was cutting into it, or someone like switched the channel on the monitor upstairs. And I was like, what is going on? Because I heard, and there's nothing on screen. You hear that. It's like a shot of him, and I think walking off. And then like the song starts playing. And I'm like, what is going on? Did it get switched to like the in-theater music, like the between-show music or something by mistake? And then you realize, because it's so drawn out before you get to the shot of Ray sitting in the truck listening to the music. And then I'm like, okay, so this is part of the movie, but it's just out of nowhere. The soundtrack for the movie is really good.
And you don't...
Like it's kind of menacing and creepy. And then all of a sudden there's like this pop song like out of nowhere.
Yeah, I remember thinking the same thing when I was sitting in there. And the way that it's overlaid with what's happening on screen, you're just like, is this a mistake?
Yeah.
Somehow?
Somebody fucked up upstairs.
And then, of course, Ray is singing along to it, which is hilarious.
It's like a really long shot of him just sitting in the truck reloading his pistol and singing along to the music. It's like, because he's a younger guy, it's like the type of song that he would listen to.
That's another thing that's interesting, is that I feel like Ray is okay with how the world is because he is so...
Younger people adapt better.
Yeah. And he's at least his character is kind of portrayed as more naive. So he's just kind of like, this is fine, like, as opposed to Eric, where it's just, he's, super depressed and has a real big chip on his shoulder. Ray is a bit different in that aspect. Because he doesn't know, kind of like, or at least didn't know the world as well before, right? At least as an adult, you could say.
Given what his age is, probably when the movie is shot, he's probably mid-20s. And it's been 10 years, so yeah, he was, a teenager, just barely into his teens when everything went to shit. And this is just Australia. He's obviously American. Like, we don't know how bad it got in the United States or what happened over here. But there's a reason that they're in Australia and not in the United States.
Did you have... I don't know if this came up in your research at all. I know there's not much research to be had for this film,
wasn't a whole lot
unfortunately. But I guess, like, obviously because of where they're... where they are in Australia... Pattinson's teeth are kind of messed up or dirty.
Yeah.
And I guess that's obviously makeup, and that makeup kept rubbing off, so you'd have to go and put it back on. So that's why he started talking the way that he does in the film to kind of cover his teeth. Yeah, that's the reason why.
Okay.
He kind of adapted to kind of hide his teeth so he wouldn't have to run back and keep doing.
Because his accent is much more pronounced than McNary's. And then it's the climax. They find where he's staying, or he finally leads him to the place where he was staying, or where everyone was going to meet up after the robbery and lay low for a few weeks, it sounded like. So they go in, and before they go, Eric finds his car. And there's those moments where it seems like he found the car, that's all he was really after. He's just going to drive off.
Yeah, he gets into the driver's seat, and he
it starts up okay.
He contemplates to himself, like, I should just fucking leave right now.
Yeah.
Just book it. And you see Ray, in front of him, and he's just like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's confused, and kind of, you see him kind of worried, like, hey, is this guy going to just bail on me after all of this right now? And of course, Eric gets out of the car, closes it really quietly to not, give away their position or anything. And then they end up coming up with this plan to kind of flank these guys, right?
Yeah, he says there's 2 in the front room, 2 in the back room. You take these guys, I'll take these guys. And then he goes in. The 2 guys are the 2 guys from before that Eric wakes up and tells him, go into the other room. I want you to sit on your hands, sit there. And Ray goes in and finds his brother, and I guess the owner of the house are in the same room. Finds him, and you can tell that Scoot's kind of surprised to see him. But also, Ray is angry with him and is holding the gun on him, asking, why'd you leave? And Scoot, he can't believe it. He's like trying to, say, hey man, just, what are you doing? Like, just put the gun down. He doesn't really get how angry Ray is at him. Because he thinks he'd be happy to see him, but he's obviously not, because Ray has been thinking this entire time. And it was like, no, my brother's not the good guy that I thought he was, at least to me. But then, in him getting distracted by, I believe, Eric asking, what was going on back there, because he's taken a while, Scoot pulls his gun. And there's that standoff. And Ray gets distracted again and fires by accident, hitting the wall behind Scoot, and just as a reflex, Scoot shoots him in the throat, I believe. And without missing a beat, Eric just executes the other 2 guys.
Yeah, because he keeps saying, Eric's like, what's going on in there? What's going on in there? Because he's worried because...
They're taking so long.
Yeah, they're taking so long back there. So, Scoot shoots Ray in the neck. Eric from the other room sees Ray hit the floor and turns around and automatically executes the other 2 guys in front of him. And then he kind of makes his way into the room where Scoot is at to check to see if Ray is actually dead or not, and he's already passed away from blood loss, I would assume. And then Scoot's character is just like, what did you do to my brother? Because he's in that journey. Obviously Ray had changed. He changed his mind about everything about his brother, and Scoot is so upset that his brother's now dead. He needs somebody to blame or to finger, and then he tries to throw the blame on Eric, and he's just like, what'd you do to my brother? Answer me. And Eric is just like, I didn't do anything. And he ends up killing him. Right?
Yeah. I think Scoot goes to stand up, and Eric just shoots him right through the heart. And then kind of contemplates killing the owner of the house, but that guy's just sitting there. He's obviously not a threat. So, leaves him alone, and then he drags out all the bodies one by one and puts them onto the pile and sets everything on fire. Gets in his car and drives off. And then at the very end, you see him park the car on the side of the road, get out, he opens up the trunk, and then he takes a shovel out, walks, 20 yards or so, off to the side of the road, and throws down the shovel, goes back and gets what was in the car the entire time. Obviously now the reason why it was so important to him to get the car back, that he was so pissed off that it got taken, and it's his dead dog. And he goes to bury the dog. And that's how the film ends, and then you're like, okay, that's why he probably shot the dwarf, because the guy was mean to the dogs. That's why he was so emotional when he saw the dogs in the doctor's back room there. And this was literally the only thing. It wasn't so much the car, it was what was in the car.